were an adult and an American, you'll never forget that day. Just like the generation before us will never forget Pearl Harbor, the shock and the surprise. And we had so much, obviously times have changed, so we have such graphic video and such recording of it that it affected everybody deeply. And I was obviously in Manhattan on 9/11. It was gorgeous, and I remember walking to work and thinking, what a perfect day, it was wonderful. And got to my office, and my assistant at one point came in and said, hey, I just heard a plane hit the World Trade Center. And I'm a pilot, I have my pilot's license, and I thought, well, that's interesting, and I kind of was behind on work, so I went back to work. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, how did that happen? Because, this is a perfect day, So I jumped up and I said, well, hey, tell me what happened. And she was like, I don't know. It's all happening right now. And so we turned on the television and we found the coverage, and you could see smoke coming out of the World Trade Center. And I remember thinking, well, that looks too big to be like a little Cessna or a little private plane to make that much, smoke. And we were debating it and talking about what it could be. And that just doesn't seem possible on a day like today for a commercial pilot. So, all this is happening, and nobody knows anything yet. Like, remember that the phone lines weren't bursting out. Nothing had really unfolded. We were still waiting for the shoe to drop, I guess. And I called my wife at the time, and she was working closer to downtown. I worked on 42nd and Park Avenue, and she worked down probably around 30th and 7th Avenue. So she was down in the Garment District, a little closer. And she had big windows on her facing south. And she said she was watching it live. And I said, are you seeing this? And we were talking. And then I heard big screaming from her office. And I said, what happened? What happened? What happened? And she said, another plane just flew into the other World Trade Center. And I remember thinking, what? That doesn't add up at all. And immediately I was like, I think we're under attack, which sounded crazy to say, but you can't dispute it. Something's going on. So I said, I think we're under attack. I ran back out to my office.